All right, guys, welcome to the first episode of the P1 podcast. I'm your host, Derek.
I am Jacob. This is super exciting.
And we have Jack as the producer.
Jack is doing all the work here. We're just actors here. Jack's the one doing everything.
Yeah. So, this is the P1 podcast. We're the LMU Pickleball podcast, the first college podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that this is a pretty exciting thing. I think the college scene's really growing. So getting into that sphere is something that needs to get done. I'm glad we're the ones to get it going. I think it's a lot to talk about in college pickleball. What is LMU Pickleball, Derek? You just mentioned we're from LMU Pickleball. Tell me a little about that. Tell them a little about that.
Well, so the M in LMU, it stands for Marymount, Loyola Marymount University. We're a school in LA, and we travel the collegiate scene regionally.
We're in the scene.
Yeah, we're in the scene. We're the number one collegiate school in the country.
We were the best in the world, actually. You forgot to mention that.
Just do not check the Duper rankings.
Don't look there. Why you even have to go on Duper? It's not a thing. We don't use that.
But the podcast name itself is P1 because we're revolutionizing the NCAA. Is that legal?
I think so. I think
P1 instead of D1. It's P1.
We're a P1 sport. Going right into it, the goal of this podcast is basically talking about LMU pickleball, revealing some light on the college scene. I think there's a lot in collegiate pickleball going around the country. I mean, I remember when we just entered collegiate pickleball, it was only like 10 schools, like 15 schools in it.
Well, yeah, the first nationals, it was 16 schools.
16 schools. And now they're having like 10 different regionals across the country just to account for the like 100 plus more schools that have joined in only 2 years. So clearly the industry is growing just like pickleball itself. So we are going to be covering that. And we are also going to be covering the world of pickleball as a whole. I think that there's a lot to be talked about, but we're definitely going to be taking an angle of the college scene just because that's where we are, that's what we have experience with, and that's where our expertise lies. So it's going to be a good time just chilling, talking about it, some friends with pickleball. If we are the pickleball podcast for you, we hope you like it. Share it with some people, and let's get into it.
Share that.
Share it.
Well, I mean, to start off, so college pickleball, right? Like, we have all these sports, NCAA stuff. I mean, USC down the road, they got Bronny James and stuff like that. And it's just like, well, you're playing pickleball, but like, who are these people? Like, why don't you just play tennis? Why don't you just do these other sports? And I mean, we're trying to elevate the scene through our club and then hopefully rub off on other schools too, because I mean, we don't want to be known as like, oh, you're just playing pickleball, you're just unathletic, or you're just like, I don't know, just doing it for fun. But you can do this competitive route, and that's what we're doing through our club. I mean, we're doing a bunch of drills every week and playing like 15 hours plus a week. So I mean, the players that we have, they're committed enough where it's pretty much like the part-time thing they do, like equivalent to a D1 sport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that one thing that, everyone loves about pickleball and why it's been growing so much is the community aspect of it. And so I think we realized as we took the mantle of president and vice president of this club that basically there's a lot of people who want to just have it as a space for friends to go and hang out, play some pickleball, hit the ball around. And then there's some people that used to come from sports, or maybe were athletes in their past, or maybe have just really had a competitive drive that really wanted to take that sport to the next level, making it not just a social aspect, a social experience, but really turning it into something they can commit themselves to and something they could be really moving forward with. Derek, what's that mug you got there?
So we got the brand new Pickleball Queen mug.
Spilling on your mug?
Bro, there's like nothing in here. All right, the drink of the day is...
What do we have in here?
What are we drinking?
So every...
Producer? What are we drinking?
What's in here?
It's in the trash can.
I haven't even sipped this yet. It's in the trash.
Lemonade and black tea blend from 365.
Lemonade and black tea blend.
So the way this is going to work is that each week we are going to have our mugs filled by our producer Jack with a mystery liquid, and we are not going to know what it is until we drink it now. I still haven't drank mine. And
It's bussin'. You need to taste it right now.
I'm a little scared. Derek has his Pickleball Queen mug.
Pickleball Queen.
I don't have a Pickleball Queen mug, so I have a badass coffee just to spice it up. Throw a little razzle dazzle on there. But you said iced tea and black tea? That makes no sense. That makes no sense at all.
Lemonade and black tea.
Lemonade and black tea. Okay.
Whole Foods. Shout out Whole Foods.
Yeah, that tastes like dirt water.
You don't like it? Damn.
Tastes like dirt, bro.
That's just buzzing. But future weeks we will have a drink sponsor. We'll have a drink sponsor. I don't know who yet, but we'll have a drink sponsor. So yeah, after that, tea-a-thon. Going into the college scene itself, who are we exactly in the space? I don't know. In the rankings in California, where do we stand in California?
Rather second or third.
Second or third?
I think, we just recently had a scrimmage in LA amongst all the schools that we'll get into in a little bit. And then Tuber has their power rankings, which is basically just the dupers of the school and combined dupers to make basically an average. And I think that there's UCSD and us. We're the only ones that are really involved in the collegiate space. I would say California is definitely a little bit less developed in that realm. So it's a little hard to compare, but based on top teams, I'd say we're second or third right now. So, because UCSD, they've got their player Ray. And so he's like, what, a 5'2", he's sponsored and playing, I don't know, is he playing pro circuit yet? I don't know what he's doing.
I don't think so. Where is Ray?
Where's Ray?
Where is Ray?
Ray, get out here.
Come on the podcast.
Come on the podcast, Ray. But
no, but our school in the collegiate scene for pickleball is one of the oldest because that national is the 16 schools. That was pretty much the only 16 schools in the country. So, I mean, yeah, there's some coming up schools. UCLA, they went to the APP nationals, and we'll talk about that a little later about all those tournaments combined.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that in the scene we definitely started out early, but I think that gave us a little bit of an edge on the business side of things for sure. I think that's given us a lot of opportunity to learn how to manage and grow a club. Like when we had that scrimmage, a lot of the clubs are a little less developed, asking how to deal with their schools, which is a whole sphere that we could get into, is just dealing with your school, trying to find places to play. I think we could rant about that for a whole podcast episode, trying to get courts or at least a place to play. But I think that also it's left some interesting competition holes, because when we started, we were 9th best in the country and we finished great. You were only a 3.5 back then too. That really said a lot about the competition at the time.
Yeah, you were a solid 2-0.
I was a 1-0. I didn't even know how to hold my racket. I was hitting with the handle. But no, I was a 1-0. I wasn't really even doing anything really. But
well, yeah, I was gonna say he called it a racket instead of a paddle, so he's still developing mentally.
I did not call it a racket. I came from ping pong, so there's no way that I could have called it a racket.
You just called it a racket.
Listen, I think that just because I beat you 5 times today doesn't mean that he just can't take the heat. But moving forward, I think that at the end, he's a much better player than me. But at the end of the day, I think that there is a lot of people at the time who were not really into the sport as much, and they were basically like 3.5 to 4.0 level. And now the tournament we just came from, which we'll talk about in a few, was mainly 5.0s for the whole tournament. Derek now is about a 5.0 player right now, so he's just killing it in the scene. Sitting on nothing I'm proud of, but less. I think I'm sitting on a 4.3 right now.
Yeah.
But it was a good time, and I think the competition has evolved to a level that is just so much higher in only 2 years, going from 3.5 winning games to 5.0 to, I think one of the players was a 5.4, which is just one below pro. So at that point,
are you talking about Utah Valley?
Yeah. I don't know if it was Utah. Thatcher was his name. He might have been with Utah Tech. I don't know. But he was a 5.4, so he was definitely raising the competition, let's just say the least. So I think that it really says a lot about how over time it's growing so fast, which is one of the main things we're trying to cover on this podcast. So basically what we're going to be covering is just all the new updates. It's a new season for Duper Collegiate. And, maybe we'll get into APP Collegiate too. We haven't really dipped our feet into that water yet, but something to explore as well. And, each regional comes out with new games. We just came from our regional. There's going to be a lot to talk about. So, yeah.
Let's just jump into, so we had a scrimmage. We had USC, UCLA, UC Santa Barbara, and Pepperdine come to LMU, and we ran a little scrimmage. I'd say all the schools, they're developing. I'd say that a lot of the new schools are less top heavy than, I don't know. What do you think?
I think that it was a good demonstration of all like different levels, and like based on their development, you can kind of tell like if it was like maybe two good players and then everyone else was kind of, okay at the game, which I think was the case with, us and UCLA. But, some schools were a little bit more balanced, like USC. And then, some schools like UCSB are just getting their feet off the ground. So it was just like a fun experience for them. Honestly, I think it was just a really fun thing to throw because like we were the hosts. We had all these people come out to us and we were able to basically start what they told us was their first competitive thing. Like they hadn't done anything competitive. Usually we're playing with the San Diego teams, which were a little further along in their club progression. Yeah. And this time we had people come to us, so it was a really fun time hosting it. I'd say the skill level was around like 3-5.
Damn.
What would you say it was?
Well, NR.
NR. Yeah, no one was rated yet. There were no
they
dupers.
Need to create dupers first. But especially hosting that tournament and going to all of the nationals, I'd say, we're pretty much one of the best sources to give collegiate opinions and stuff. The scene right now is dominated by a lot of tennis players.
It's all tennis players.
I think one of the biggest problems.
You're a tennis player.
Well, yeah, of course. That's why I'm one of the best players.
Yeah.
But I'd say that it's dominated by the tennis players. So everyone that's not a tennis player is kind of discouraged in a way to play in the top. Like the top, for the collegiates, you do MLP format, and all of the team ones and teams twos are consistent tennis players. So you're pretty much wiped out before the quarterfinals even starts, and you don't get to play.
That didn't happen to us at all, for sure. What are your thoughts on ML play? I'm curious. Because, all the duper collegiates are using ML play, but, you go to a PPA tournament or like anywhere else, they're not using that, but it just so happens the collegiate scene's using ML play. What do you think of the system?
Well, I think of what Duper is doing right now is that they are structuring everything for like 10 years in the future. Like, I don't think ML play works now just because, you parallel it to the MLP and then you have all these, teams drafting players in and out. Like in the collegiate scene, you're just playing with the same top 4 people pretty much, unless you have like a stacked school like Utah Tech, like they kind of interchange people now and then. But every single time you pretty much see the same people playing. And if you don't, it's because they got bored and probably like left pickleball or they went on their own journey and that's why they're not playing. So, we have the NCPA tournament coming up next week and the March 15th to 17th, whenever this podcast comes out, that's what's happening. And that one is not ML play format and it's very individualistic.
It's going to be a lot more focused on themselves. I'm not sure how I feel about ML play because like sometimes the rally scoring to 21 really makes it feel like a lot more even of a game because I'll get points just for getting my serve back and that can be encouraging. So like, maybe it'll be like 15-12 and I'm losing, but maybe if it was side out scoring, I would be getting my butt handed to me. So that's really cool. But at the same time, I think that, at our recent regional, everyone was really struggling with the freeze. Like no one really understood what was going on once
the freeze is not great. It didn't help. I don't know if it's like the NBA and there's going to be a fine if I talk badly about a certain organization, individuals, but yeah, that was not great. There was a lot of confusion.
Yeah, I think there were games that were actually put on the line because people weren't knowing how to score it properly. I remember we had our game, I think it was my mixed game when we were playing Utah Valley, and the ref actually pulled me aside and was like, you might have won that game, but you guys scored improperly, but I didn't say anything to you guys.
Oh yeah, you guys also called the wrong score too. You had one more point than you called.
Yeah, so we might have won. Who knows? We might have beat Utah Valley.
Point helps, you know, when it's
tied.
When you lose by 2 points.
When you lose by 2. I think that at the end of the day, the scores can be really confusing when you get to that point. So I think that, I don't know, it was created to make things more even, but I think it's just causing more confusion and people don't even know what they're doing. Even like 6 matches into this tournament, we were still disputing it with some people. But I don't know. I know when I got back to side out scoring, it felt like I could make 80 mistakes. So it also felt like there was a lot more leeway. So
yeah, I mean, we're talking about the Utah Regional, so I guess we're jumping straight into the Utah Regional. So
yeah, well, whatever. Let's talk about the Utah Regional. We can circle back to our scrimmage.
Yeah. So Utah, first time in Utah.
I'm gonna have some more of this dirt water while you're coming up with your thoughts. With some dirt water.
How's iced tea, man? Everyone loves iced tea. Jacob's tripping.
Black tea.
Bro drinks cold brew coffee from Starbucks.
Water and coffee. That's all you need.
Psycho. All right. First time in Utah.
That was an experience.
So we got to the facility. Pretty windy. I'd say it's pretty windy. We left the facility. Everything was covered in snow.
Yeah.
4 inches of snow.
Yeah, we get there. Clear day. Nice. Serene. A little gray. We're leaving. Our car is covered and frozen. And it was a complete blizzard. And I'm from New England. I'm used to snow. I face snow all the time. But you are from California. You had a little bit of a harder time.
Yeah, so Jacob ended up doing everything. We just stood around while he pried open the frozen doors. And yeah, we just went on our way. But I mean, okay, Utah Regional. So what happened?
I mean, first we had to get there, which was a whole experience of its own. For those of you who don't know, in collegiate pickleball, they are all college clubs. Obviously, there's no actual, teams unless you're Utah Tech and you get scholarships. But for most of these teams, they are going to be college clubs, unaffiliated with the school. So for the most part, coming up with money is up to you. And that was a big thing they talked about with us at the scrimmage, is a lot of the up and coming schools are struggling to get money. And you can bet your bottom dollar that was something that we struggled with as an up-and-coming club and still struggle with to this day. So getting across the country, not the easiest thing. So we have to come up with various forms of getting money. I remember when we first started as a club, we had nationals in Texas, and our former president started a GoFundMe, just basically being like, please help us, we need money. And then a lot of generous people gave us thousands of dollars, which was amazing, super helpful. Tell us a little bit this time about what we did to make this trip happen.
I mean, yeah, we spent all our money.
I'm so broke.
You need a car, plane tickets, Airbnb. And I mean, last year we got stipends from Duper, so that helped out. This year, no stipends. And yeah, no more regionals.
Yep, regionals are off because we can't afford it.
But anyways, okay, so we played against Utah Valley Team 2. This mic is like in my face, bro. Like, Jesus Christ. All right, we played against Utah Valley Team 2 first round. What happened there?
I think that Utah Valley Team 2 was a good team. I'm going to give them their credit. They were, beating GCU, which everyone knows is a tough team to beat. And GCU, this regional, was their own story of itself, which we can get into in a minute. But yeah, we played them, and our women, got to hand it to our women players, Allison and Flora. They came out strong, gave a good run with the women on the other team, which were also pretty competitive. It was pretty close. I will say all our games against Utah Valley were extremely close. They all went past 21 for the most part. And yeah, our women came out on top. Then we played our men's doubles, me and Derek. And boy, was that a close game. Our women
lost. They did not come out on top.
Didn't our women win?
Nope.
I thought our women won.
Nope.
Are you serious?
We lost 1-3.
Oh. I thought it was because
No, the same thing
all
happened
right.
both games. Both teams were in the lead, men's and women's doubles, and then the lead lost in double overtime.
Double overtime.
Double overtime.
Well,
But I mean, meshing segments. The game of chuck ball. How's the game of chuck ball?
what are you saying?
Well, I'm saying, like, okay, going into the matches, well,
What's chuck ball?
that's the name of the ball. The Gamma Chuck Ball.
Oh, I don't like that ball. Am I allowed to like talk bad on the pod? Can we do that?
No, we're not going to any more regionals. We're fine.
Like, I don't know. The ball was different for sure. I think we're used to playing with X balls or what's the thick one? Duras.
Yeah.
We play with Duras when we go to some rec leagues. But
I think the problem was that the Gamma Chuck announcement was relatively soon, and it's a ball that no one has used. So it would have been good if it's like the Dura or the Franklin or something like that. But
great way to get you not to steal the balls. I'm gonna say it. I don't care.
Why are you incriminating yourself? That is insane. I would never steal. Jacob is a thief. The Gamma Chuck balls, if you guys never use them, they're trash.
The Gamma balls are definitely thicker than the X balls. They bounce very strangely and inconsistently, in my opinion. I found that there were times where it would just skip, and then there were times where it would basically hit the same spot, same type of shot, and then it would just bounce really high. So I really didn't know what was coming at me a lot of the
I feel like
times.
the main problem was that the Franklins, they crack. The Gamma Chuck balls have dents on them. Like, probably after 5 points, maybe, like, there's a big lump on the ball, and then you will notice that in the matches. I don't know about you, but for me, where I noticed that the most was when people would serve and doing a return. On the return, the ball pops up after the bounce. So you're hitting it higher than you normally did. Now, I mean, I was getting my returns every time, but the adjustment was just like, you have to bring up your paddle instead of normally swinging through. So that was definitely
I noticed
annoying.
just when I hit it, my returns were going higher too.
Yeah.
I think that it just changed the game a lot. I mean, your drive, didn't you have to like change your whole serve and drive?
So I changed my serve form at the tournament. I had to completely change it for the ball for some reason. My serve just was not working. So I changed my serve form conceptually in the middle of the tournament, and then just working on drives for like 2 hours drilling after like losing the first couple matches. Like, all right, we need to like go back in the workshop. And I've noticed the Gamma Chuck ball, the spin is very interesting. Sometimes you'll like brush on it. I mean, it's just like, they should advertise their top spin, because the spin on the ball is insane, but it's not in a good way, definitely.
It changed the game a lot. We had to return to our fundamentals. I think that any time you have to change your strategy and change your form in the middle of the tournament, not that I'm blaming any losses we had on the balls. I mean, at the end of the day, we lost the game. But I will say, anytime you have to change your whole game for the ball, it's not a good thing. And I know that these places have to make their money. They have to, they probably got a good sponsorship deal. So you got to work with that. But at the end of the day, most people aren't using these balls. So I think that going with a very different ball than what everyone's practicing with, it's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine, again, long-term for them and what they're thinking, because, I mean, it could be something that, we'll all get used to in the second or third regional, but it was just unfortunate that everyone was like struggling in their matches. You can tell like a lot of players are missing shots they normally wouldn't, and there was a lot of frustration at that tournament, definitely.
Yeah, I'd say that was a good theme throughout this tournament. There were some
talking about good frustration, ASU Team 2.
Let's talk about ASU Team 2.
So, everyone's pretty competitive at these tournaments, I'd say, like good, like, oh, come on, yeah. So versus ASU Team 2, there was definitely some shouting happening, some good banter. I like good banter, so I will bark
You're a big
back.
Come on guy. You do the come on.
So who started it? I started it.
You started all the time.
For most of the matches, for some reason in this tournament, like won most of our like first points versus
Yeah, we
every
always
team.
started a good lead.
And this term, for some reason, after like winning points, like speeding up, like all these players are like 5.2s and stuff, so they think they're like really good and stuff. So I mean, I'm just staring them down the court, and I think ASU team 2 picked up on that. So what was he saying? Nuh-uh.
So basically, anytime Derek would try and speed up at this particular player, he would speed up at him, and if the other team won the firefight, he would scream at him, nope, not at me,
Yeah.
And you took that well. I think you took it very humbly. You took it with a lot of humility. I think you were the bigger man.
Of course.
Tell them what you did.
So on the following point next, I have to respond. And I hit him back with a nuh-uh, and I think that's the loudest I've ever yelled, and the entire pickler it was already loud and you couldn't hear anything.
You did not just yell. You tossed your paddle and threw your hands.
Did I?
Yeah. I have it on video.
I tossed my paddle? Damn.
You you slammed
Wait,
it.
you have that match on video?
Not the whole match. It's like one part of it that Ty was videoing. But drops the paddle. Just throws it up at him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that definitely the competition can get the better of everyone. I think banter's great, but I think where you wind up just looking a little silly at a point because, I don't know, they were losing pretty badly for a lot of trash talk. But
no, it was pretty close the whole time, and it stopped when he became humble and started saying, "Oh, good point." So
he came up to us and said, "Good game." We said, "Good game" to him. We walked away happy.
Fun. It's always fun to have some shouting matches. These places could be intense. So
yeah, I think GCU was a great match. I think what happened with GCU was interesting because they didn't come with a lot of their earlier players, did they?
Well, that's in part of like a lot of these schools have players going in and out. You don't know who's a senior. You don't know who's graduating. You don't know who's going to be 30 years old playing the tournament. But mostly it's just, I don't know, people go on their own journeys. You don't see the same people every time. You see most of the same people every time, but yeah.
Yep, I think Artur showed up. And he showed out, but everyone else was new. Not the women that I remember, not his partner that I remember. But at the end of the day, that was a pretty good match. Did our women win that one? I think our women won that one.
Yeah, they won.
All right, our women won that one, and then the men's one was pretty close. We brought that to within, I think, 3 points. And then mixed was back and forth. Unfortunately, we lost against GCU, but good matches. I mean, I walked away happy because I'm a 4-3 playing against 5-0s. So I know for you, it's a little bit more competitive. You go in to win. I'm happy to be there. And I think that I walked away a lot happier than everyone else did. But I think that it was fun watching, GCU and Utah Valley got into a little dream breaker. Utah Valley Team 2, they went singles for a little while, back and forth. Think Utah Valley came out on top for that one. Yeah,
Utah Valley swept one of the best teams in the nation. It was 3-0. They won the whole thing. So congratulations to them. I think that's a relatively new team.
You talking about the final?
Yeah, the final.
The final, yeah. Utah Valley beat Utah Tech. I remember there was a point last semester or last year where Utah Tech was in the finals of every single regional. And Utah Tech, for those of you who don't know, just shows up with about 20 different people. So usually at the end, it was always Utah Tech Team 1 versus Utah Tech Team 2 in the finals, which honestly, even though it's Utah, another team playing them in the finals, that Miss Kong girl, I forget her first name, she showed up and was playing incredibly well. She impressed me a lot.
I'd say she was fighting hard for her family. She had more drive in her game, definitely, you can tell. So, yeah, good for her.
Yeah, I think that she was probably, in my opinion, one of the best people there. Her and Artur stood out to me as some of the best players in the whole tournament. But, I mean, that tournament was fun. We played hard, won a couple games, and had a good time in Utah. Got to see the scene.
It was an overall good experience. First time in Utah. Of course, we had to go skiing after. So, these tournaments, overall good experience. But yeah, the bid winners, GCU, Utah Valley, Utah Tech, and University of Utah?
Utah State.
Utah State. 4 bid winners. So yeah, that's pretty much wraps up the Utah regional. That's that. The Illinois regional was the first one. So the Utah regional, we went to the second one. Ohio State won that one, and then what were the other teams there? There's TCU. I think Indiana.
I didn't watch the whole thing of that one. I just saw the finals.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that one definitely looked competitive, but the one we went to, Utah Valley, Utah Tech, they're like 1 and 2 in the rankings. So
I think GCU's like 5, right?
GCU's 11, I think.
11.
But yeah, so the Utah regional was definitely the most competitive one of the year, definitely, and we'll see the other one. Maybe
I'm excited to see the Georgia one because that's going to have
the Florida schools, stuff like
UNC,
that.
Gonna see some maybe Schick action.
Schick, he still plays?
Wasn't Colin Schick just named Dink Collegiate Player of
the Dink Collegiate Player of the Year was Colin Schick.
It was.
Colin Schick.
Shouts out to Colin Schick and his singles game.
So Dink College Collegiate Player of the Year. Why is Jack Monroe one of the players?
I couldn't answer that for you at all.
That's equivalent to like before Christian Alshon dropped out of college. Oh yeah, let's put Christian Alshon on the Dink College Player of the Year. Yeah, that was.
I don't know why I wasn't named Collegiate Player of the Year. I mean, 4-3, lost all my games. I think it's reasonable to put me on that list.
Well, because you're a controversial individual.
I steal balls. I drink dirt water. I'm gonna have another sip.
All right, buddy. Yeah, so 8 bid winners now, and there's gonna be 60 schools making it. If we're not one of the schools, we're gonna be one of the schools.
We're gonna be one of the schools. It's a lot of schools. I mean, we have a pretty solid team up and coming. I mean, if we're just talking duper, most of us are in the 4 range. We have, Allison is Derek's women's partner, and she's doing great, winning 4 out of 4-5 tournaments, winning medals for those. And you guys are about to do 4-5 mixed, right? So
yeah,
going into some great tournaments, and I think we have a pretty good shot. I mean, you're 4-9, and things are going well. So looking forward to that. We have a tournament coming up next week for the MPSC. Did I say it right?
What?
What is it?
What did you say?
What is it called?
You say what you just said.
I don't want to anymore. You're making me nervous.
NPSC. What does that stand for?
I didn't know what it stood for
Spell
before.
it out. NPSC. So what do you think that stands for?
NPSC. National Pickleball Sports
Soccer
Community.
Championship.
Sports Community. National Pickleball Sports Community.
NCPA.
What does that stand for?
National Collegiate Pickleball Association.
Well, I liked mine better.
The ABCD.
Listen.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, the NCPA Nationals, Duper. There's the APP. There's a lot of competing. What is that even called? Tournament organizations in the collegiate scene. We're doing NCPA. We do Duper. We didn't go to the APP. The APP had their nationals in January, and they haven't announced anything since. So
I don't know what's going on with that.
I don't know if they're just going to discontinue that because they're not doing well. Even the NCPA, they had like a kind of regional system, but like everyone can go to this one. I'm assuming it'll be more rigorous in the future. But Duper is definitely the most fleshed out in terms of like, I guess, asking you, who do you think is going to be the prevailing organization in the college space?
I mean, that's tough to say. I mean, I feel like if you look at the collegiate scene, it's all trying to mirror the pro scene. So I think that, they're trying to just, make this demographic. And if you look at it that way, then you have the PPA and the pro scene, but the APP is always there. I think the PPA gets a lot more views. They did that merger with the MLP, which has taken like 5 years. I don't know what's going on with that, but whenever that happens. But the APP is always there. So if we're looking at it reflecting pro, I think that Dupers, because it just has such a head start and it's such a good company, they're doing so well with their marketing and they're used by all the players. Duper isn't going to die out. And I think Duper's just going to keep going. And then I think the APP, similar to pro scene, is just always going to be there. I mean, it's just too big an organization, has too many players to not have the resources to be prevalent. I mean, it all depends on viewership, but I imagine the APP is going to get more views than what was it?
NCPA.
The NCPA, the National Collegiate Pickleball Association, for those of you who didn't know. And so I think that at the end of the day, it's going to take a long time for one to fall out or one to come on top, because they're all still figuring it out. I mean, this year alone was when Duper just announced their super regionals, and they just made that decision. And just last year, APP started. So, I mean, we can think in terms of 1 to 3 years, like it seems most people seem to with pickleball. I think that it's easy to think short term with pickleball, but, you know, it's growing so fast that you can only think of it in the scope of 5 to 10 years. And I think it's just too soon to make any assumptions for that.
I mean, assuming we make assumptions. Well, the NCPA, it's run by a college kid, and I think that's where most people want the Cinderella story to happen. I think that would be pretty cool. But I mean, Duper has everything pretty much fleshed out the most out of all of them. So, I mean, does Duper even want to run all of them for the future? Like, I mean, maybe they're just setting up to just make like another merger or something. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if like AP or PPA comes along and is like, oh, let's merge with Duper, and like we'll have our lucrative stuff happen through the collegiate scene if it goes big enough, probably. All those streams get like, I mean, in terms of the college streams, it's like family members watching. It's like 100 viewers a stream. So
yeah, I mean, it's not like the bleachers were completely full at our regional tournament or anything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's pickleball.
Yeah, but I mean, that's pretty much the tournament scene in regards to that. It's like those 3 big ones, basically. And then you have the colleges, of course, doing scrimmages around the country. You see a lot of that. But I mean, talking about like working with bigger companies, Duper for the collegiates has Yola sponsoring the tournaments. All of them.
All of them?
All of them.
I mean, I saw the Yola banners.
Was it there?
They had like little posters or like banners along the fences.
So they bought a banner.
They had a banner. I think so.
Well, no, they're paying for a banner.
Okay. What do you mean they're paying for a banner?
I don't know. It was like, I don't know, like the organizers could say, oh, by the way, like Yola, we love Yola.
It sounds like a saying.
Well, because
like,
I didn't really notice
Yola.
it there. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't really notice it there.
I noticed the gamma balls. That's what I noticed.
Yeah.
You might have noticed the gamma balls.
But I mean, in terms of Yola, like, what is the collaboration
with Duper?
Yeah,
I'm not fully sure. I mean, Yola's been making so many business moves. Like, they're just getting so many players. I mean, Tyson McGuffin just switched to Yola. And, you know, they're getting all the big players. I know they have, you know, Ben Johns and Colin, Anna Bright. They've got all the top players, and they're all leaving their other paddle companies. So Yola is definitely coming up really hot. So what they're doing in the collegiate scene, not fully sure. I think it's just about awareness and visibility at this point. Like, they're just trying to get eyes on them. It's not necessarily like, you know, signing players is still on an individual basis. There's not necessarily schools. I mean, I know what happened with UVA and their XR sponsorship.
Yeah, so college pickleball is starting to get sponsored by a lot more people. So UVA, they're sponsored by Pro XR now. LMU Pickleball is sponsored by
we didn't sign it yet.
And then so all these schools are signing sponsorships. I think Carbon is in the space. So what, like
Gearbox,
Pro XR, Gearbox, Carbon, Addict Pickleball. Shout out Addict
Is Utah
Pickleball.
Tech sponsored? It's 6-0, right?
No, you keep like
Don't they?
mixing it up.
Are
They
they
just got
They just have 6-0
They
paddles?
just got it sent to them.
Okay.
Yeah. UNC, Selkirk, kind of. But yeah, more companies are coming into the scene, sponsoring a lot of more individual players rather than teams. But I mean, the team dynamic is definitely coming up. A lot more front heavy from the boards across the country of students running those clubs instead of companies reaching out. But you see a lot more smaller companies taking advantage in the scene, like Addict Pickleball. They sponsor I don't know, like what, a dozen schools now in the scene.
Mm-hmm.
You have PCKL. They send a bunch of stuff to colleges. They have college programs.
These are great companies.
A bunch of more small companies, and that is their time to get awareness in the scene. Because I mean, like you have like the Colin Chicks, Avery Beck. You have people in the college scene, and they're breaking out and making a name for themselves. And you're seeing those paddles in the scene. I mean, I don't know if Kason Campbell goes to school, but he's sponsored by Attic Pickleball, and he beat Colin Chick a couple times.
I love Attic Pickleball.
Tyler Loon,
some cool stuff.
Yeah, so like you have cool companies like that. They're making stuff, sending it to colleges, like getting their name out, and then they're taking advantage of it. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see the programs coming.
Yeah, I like what you said about how a lot of it's more outreach than inbound, which I think is very true. I think that a lot of the colleges that are securing deals are just really their board being proactive and reaching out. I mean, like that was our story. I mean, any sponsorship we've had has been us, basically going and researching companies, finding emails, and just, mass pushing our brand out to people. And then those that respond, we get on a call with them. And now we recently are working with a company that is yet to be disclosed, but I think that we got that outcome through outreach. I mean, UVA had their XR sponsorship through outreach. And I think that the companies aren't necessarily reaching out a whole lot. It's generally the smaller ones. I would say our DMs are definitely full of like the small startup people who are all just kind of, what it seems like to me, just trying to grab the pickleball wave a little bit, like trying to take advantage of the trend. And they're all like maybe like small companies out of their mom's basement saying like, please let us sponsor you. But other than that, I would say it's definitely a lot up to the board of each club. And you can see that in all of the colleges because some will have very organized, very capable boards. I mean, ours has 6 people on it and each one has their own role. Each one's working simultaneously. And it's because of that we're probably able to get sponsorships like this. But then you may have one that's just one guy who's extremely passionate about pickleball, but has to manage everything in the school with the people in the college scene, all his equipment, all his bookings, all the money, everything just on his own. And that I'm sure that weighs unbelievably hard on them. I mean, there was a point where it was just us two running the club and that was horrendous and hard. And I think that definitely shows. And just, like I said, these colleges are, these clubs are not necessarily affiliated with the colleges. They're just kind of on their own and it's sink or swim at that point. But either way, moving on from that, what are your thoughts on the pro scene lately? I mean, we just had the Mesa tournament.
The pro scene has a similar problem to we have. The Vulcan ball.
The Vulcan ball, the PPA.
It's the most, winners I've ever seen in pickleball ever. And
what does that mean?
You don't know what a winner is?
A winner?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what a winner is.
Yeah, most winners I've ever seen.
How can there be more than...
Oh my gosh. A winner in like racket sports is like you hit a ball and then your opponent doesn't even touch it.
That's not called an ace?
No, an ace is off of the serve.
And I played soccer, guys, if you can't tell.
So a lot of winners in this tournament, and you can tell the ball is bouncing a little bit weird. So just, prioritizing money over the players.
Well, I think that, and this is not to get too controversial, but from my initial perspective, it seems like everyone's thinking very short term. Like if I look at, much bigger sports organizations like the NFL or the European soccer leagues or something like that, they all have their sponsorships that are much longer lasting and they are much more cemented. Like when I think NFL, I think Gatorade immediately. And that's because Gatorade is the official drink of the NFL. And you always see the Gatorade bottles on the side and that's consistent and it lasts a long time. But I feel like because all of these companies are starting out, all these companies are learning the scene, learning what strategies work best, nothing is cemented. So it's all just kind of thought of in short term. And so, we just had I remember there were the Duras and then PPA switched to, was it Onyx balls? And whichever one were you using when you did the PPA singles?
That was Dura.
Were those Duras?
Yeah.
now they're on the Vulcan balls. And I think it's just like, all kind of switching up so fast. And I think a lot of that is very indicative of like I don't know if it's short-term thinking or short-term necessity. Maybe this is what they have to do to stay alive right now, but it might contribute to why pickleball is still looked at as small. I mean, we are on, I think it's ESPN2, and the PPA finals are on ESPN1. They're on Amazon, which is all great. So it's definitely solidifying its, I don't want to use the word dignity, but
is it hard for you to like find the live stream to watch pickleball?
Yeah.
I have no clue where to look. ESPN1 or Pickleball TV.
Well, for PPA, I just go on the YouTube channel. But
no, the ones that aren't on YouTube.
That one's tough. It's always in a different place, and that's kind of what I'm saying here. Like all kind of is always changing, and I think that affects viewership because people don't know where to go, and I think they're saying like, oh, ESPN's offering us a platform, let's use them. But then, oh wait, Amazon's offering, let's use them. So it's kind of like saying yes to everything, but like the lack of consistency might not help solidify its significance. And I don't know. I'm just a college kid with my thoughts, so take what it is with a grain of salt.
Well, it's also a recent thing. Everyone's pointing out like the viewership and how it's like less than 1% of the entire fan base of pickleball. Mm-hmm. I mean, part of that is like their production.
You mean their 720p drone cameras?
Especially, well, if you watch other sports, I mean, comparing it to tennis, you have like 4 matches running at once maybe, and you'll have like grandstand courts, and it's the same quality as the championship court stream. But in pickleball, you want to probably watch sometimes the players playing on grandstand, but you know that the championship court compared to grandstand court, I mean, it looks like someone's holding their camera and they're like streaming it from their phone. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, it gets blurry. There's not really good commentary, and even the championship court, I mean, the quality suffers from time to time, and even the angles. I think, have you watched the what is it, Pro-Am tournament or whatever, like the pickleball like charity ones with like McEnroe and those ones are really good, like produced, like the production were really good on those ones, like the angles and stuff like that. Like the angle on the PPA Tour ones, I mean, the ball looks slow just because of the angle. Yeah. And you have the more courtside cameras, like, oh, okay, that ball looks fast. And I mean, that probably attributes to people's perception on watching pro. And it's like, oh, well, I mean, they're hitting the shots I'm hitting in rec and 3-5 rec. So like, why should I watch that? Yeah. And I think that is like the biggest change you make when you go to a pro tour, because like, I think something I always tell the people that we're coaching, because we coach in our club, and one of the things I always say is like, if you want to see the higher level, go to a pro tour and it will be different. On TV, it looks the same. They drop, they dink, they speed up, they win. And that's that. But you go there and you see their serve is 10 times faster. Their return is 10 times faster. Their dinks are way more fast and aggressive. So I think those are things that the camera's just not picking up because of the angle and production. Now, keep in mind, we both have a long history in camera work and all of this filmmaking stuff. So we may be a little bit of snobs with it, but it is noticeable. And I would say especially when they're doing their drone shots, that's where it really gets me, because that's just like really blurry. But I wonder how they do that though. Like, is it like venue specific? Do they bring their camera equipment everywhere they go, or do they rent from the place they're at? It looks like the same equipment used everywhere.
Because like when we go to we've been to different venues and it all looks the same.
Well, I mean, when we went to the Newport one, like that camera equipment looked pretty nice.
It looks like high end.
I wonder their like translation, like in like the back end almost, like maybe it's
their upload or something.
Yeah,
where
something like that.
Well, maybe it's because they're live streaming too. You remember GCU was doing their live stream and the quality was 360.
I mean, I don't think it's necessarily the live streaming, because like I've seen, YouTubers produce their own like quality live stream content and stuff. I mean, that's more quality compared to the PPA tour. Like, I don't know, you'll have like YouTuber boxing events or something like that. But yeah, a lot of food for thought on that end. Pros don't look happy. New Yola paddles coming out.
I'm excited for the Tyson paddle. I never use
the Magnum.
I never use Tyson's paddles just because I've kind of realized he plays differently than I do. But I don't know. I'm just a big Tyson stan. But I don't know. It was an interesting tournament. I think that there was some great play. I was watching. I mean, I watched Zane Navratil and everything, and he was doing pretty good. But the singles game was where it stood out to me because there were just unlikely winners there. What did you think of that?
Oh, you're talking about that tournament was like a month ago.
Talking about the one that was a week and a half ago.
That was a week and a half ago?
Mesa.
That was a week and a half ago?
Well, Mesa was streaming when we were in Utah, wasn't it?
Was it? I don't think so. I think that was before Utah.
Which tournament was last week?
I don't know.
These are things we should know. Why don't you start the subject? We'll just wipe what I just said. You start the subject and I'll respond.
Well, I just think just taking all the recent tours in a kind of a cluster. I mean, we saw the Diascu and Tardio go all the way and losing the championship match. That was crazy. Ben Johns has been losing a lot lately.
He's been losing a lot more lately.
Which is, I think it was that clip of him playing Fortnite. I think he's playing too much Fortnite instead of training.
I mean,
there's several people that I know that do that.
Man did a documentary and now it's just all falling apart.
Yeah, the skill ceiling is capping out. People are starting to come up, especially in singles. Singles is just inconsistent.
Do you think that's because it's all tennis players coming in? Like, look at what happened with Jack Sock. I mean,
Jack Sock has been tearing. That is insane. I mean, he hasn't won like an actual gold yet, but I mean, it's definitely fun to watch Jack Sock play. Those are very fun matches.
I just got finished saying I'm a Tyson fan, and then I'm just thinking of the Jack Sock versus Tyson match.
Tyson just
absolutely
him.
Whooped him.
Jack Sock is watching him is fun, but I don't think it's the tennis dynamic. It's more of singles is more of a tournament by tournament display. So like you can just have an off day in singles and you'll just get wiped, right? And you'll have someone that's not very well known and they'll like go all the way. I mean, they have a good day just hitting their drives and stuff, and you don't really see that in doubles. So that's probably why it happens in singles. So
who would you say then, like out of the players, who would you say are like the most consistent in your eyes, like that are not just singles but doubles too, like apart from top two, because obviously they're there, but who do you think's like always like kind of maintaining their level?
I mean, in terms of names, you see the most Annalie Waters.
Besides the top two? All right, that really resonated.
I don't know. Maybe like Connor Garnett, maybe?
Connor Garnett, in singles especially.
Yeah.
I think Stack Screwed has been killing it in singles, but I don't know. I feel
not in doubles, though.
Not in doubles, per se. I mean, doubles, I think JW is just always there.
Well, you have JW and Frazier. They're consistent in singles and doubles.
I feel like they're like the new Matt Wright and Riley Newman because like they're just always getting second.
Yeah.
Like they always make it to the finals and then always lose to the Johns. And that's what was happening like a year ago with Wright and Newman.
Well, Thomas Wilson in doubles has been sneakily good lately. He's been winning a lot.
Yeah, I mean, new partner and Wilson did okay.
Yeah, so I want to see more of Tardio Diascu, but they play APP a lot. So
is that where he is? Because I remember he was nominated for Men's Player of the Year or something.
Really?
From the Dink, I think.
Yeah, I think he does APP.
APP. I don't watch enough APP.
Yeah.
I mostly watch PPA and MLP when they come out, but I think that JW and Dylan Frazier are probably my favorite duo to watch. I think, not to keep my narrative going, but McGuffin and Barr have been doing some crazy stuff too. I think that's like the most aggressive duo you could possibly have.
Dekel Barr has definitely been like the most up and coming. Like people used to not know who he was, and now everyone's like, "Oh, Dekel Barr."
I feel like it's the opposite. Dekel Barr is an old player. I mean, he's been in the scene for a while.
Well, not in that aspect. I'm talking about like, I mean, it was fairly.
That's like saying people didn't know Simone Jardine and now.
No, I'm saying like Dekel Barr in terms of like is only until recently. I guess it's recently when he started playing with like McGuffin. They're like, oh, he has the best serve and like they're an explosive duo. Like he didn't have a ton of recognition before. I feel like.
Yeah. I feel like McGuffin's been like kind of just cycling through partners, trying to figure out who works. I mean, he was doing a great thing with Ignatowicz, but I do notice Ignatowicz has been playing like crazy without him. But I think like, you know, it's been a while since Deco Bar made the medals matches. And then as soon as he gets back with Tyson, you know, they're making it up to the medal matches, which holds a lot of promise. As soon as Tyson gets over his injury, I'm really excited to see what happens
He has an
there.
injury?
Yeah, he had some something wrong with his ankle, I think. He was talking about it in his podcast, but he, you know, whatever he did to one leg, he did to the other. That's why he wasn't in the last two tournaments.
Yeah.
Any other pros coming out on top? I mean, it's just the individuals who just randomly come out and like win all the singles matches.
I mean, Colin Chick in doubles with Jack Sock has been doing stuff lately. He wasn't really doing anything in doubles.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting watching some of the players like who are always making it past the qualifiers, but never really making it past like 16.
Who?
Like De Villiers would be a good example of that. Like,
he used to be your favorite player.
Jay De Villiers was my favorite player for a while. Well, that's just because I met him and I got all like giddy, but I geeked out at Jay De Villiers.
You got all giddy?
Oh, he's pro player. But no, like I think that's a great example. Like I think I always see him in the bracket, but I never see him in like pass around to 16. And so,
well, they have the progression draw now, so it's more stacked up.
Him and I'd love to see more of Travis Rettenmeyer as well. I think Travis is a pretty good player, and maybe I'm just not looking hard enough, but I'd love to see more.
Well, that was one of my favorite matches when we saw the Rettenmeyer was playing with Arnold, no? In Newport, remember?
Oh, when Julian Arnold, Rettenmeyer, and De Villiers, and one other. I don't remember who the other one was.
Oh, I know Zane was playing with DJ Young.
Yeah.
I think they played against Travis.
We watched the Zane game live too, but at the time I didn't know who Zane was. Yeah. So I just saw Navratil. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. Now he's like my favorite player.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, the pro scene's looking good. I'm excited to see what happens.
I mean, yeah, definitely the pro scene. I mean, there's a lot of parallels with collegiate pickleball. I mean, you have a lot of change recently. I think there's a lot of change recently.
I mean, look at UVA.
I mean, look at MLP. There's no events.
I think that UVA made a really surprise hit at the last Nationals for me. I did not expect them to come out the way they did. I think that's possibly because we're all on the West Coast, so we just know our schools.
Yeah, that's another thing about the Duper. We only pretty much play the West Coast schools. I was thinking the other day they should do like West Coast Conference and East Coast Conference or something like that. I think they already announced that they were doing like they're separating based on region, and they were gonna do like a different power ranking for like based on like who's the best in the regions.
Well, they should do that for California. I mean, like California, that'd be crazy.
They should have an event in California.
We can't be the only ones making events in California.
No, I'm saying Duper.
Duper? I mean, we can make one.
No, Duper should bring a super regional to California.
That's on them. But yeah, that'd be nice. I mean,
but Utah's fun, you know. It's warm and it's nice to get around. We love Utah. A
lot of churches. I saw it was good because I grew up like Catholic school and I haven't seen a lot of churches like that since. So what was your favorite place we went to for regional?
We went to Vegas. We had Utah. We had Texas, and we had Arizona.
Tempe.
And then we went to Utah in a blizzard. We went to Texas.
Frost freeze.
Yeah. And we went to Arizona, and you almost died.
I died of heat stroke in Arizona, and we were all huddled, freezing in 20-degree Texas.
And what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So that's why I like Vegas. Vegas was
great. We did a good stuff in Vegas.
Vegas was good because we can actually drive there, and it's close enough.
Yeah, I can gamble in Vegas.
More dupers in Vegas.
You can't gamble in Vegas.
No, more dupers in Vegas and California.
There you go.
There you go.
I think we definitely need to have some more nearby. That would be incredible. But
and where?
More nearby.
Yeah, I mean they can do it in like Irvine. That'd be cool.
There's a Lifetime Fitness in Irvine.
That is true.
But yeah, I think for the most part that just summed up most of what we're going to cover on a weekly basis. We're just going to talk about updates in the collegiate scene, updates in the pro scene, and our own updates on our own pickleball club, our own thoughts, and stuff we're doing as players. I think it's going to get a lot more niche and specific in the future episodes, just because this was just a broad chat.
Yeah, a lot of summary in this, who we are, the scene and stuff. So a lot more interesting content.
Definitely stick around for future episodes of this podcast. It's going to be a great time, pretty laid back. Share it with some people, share it with your college, share it with your friends. It's going to be
This is the college podcast.
Collegiate Pickleball.
Let's go.
Let's get some more dirt water.
All right, bro.
All right. I'm Jacob. This is Derek. We are P1.